Haven't lost anyone overboard yet, have you?
Yes, but not the guest, so I think you're safe. Matty Mason fell off once when we were training.
Is it quite hard?
Actually, I've fallen off too. Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, but I managed to hang on.
It's quite hard to stay on board, I guess, with the acceleration and the sudden movements.
And they're quite easy to step off because you can see the top sides are quite round, so if you don't stand in quite the right place, you can find yourself in the water pretty easily.
So what happens if you do go overboard?
You aren't allowed to be put back on, or I think if you do get put back on, you get a penalty, but the boat can still finish with 4 people. I think there's no penalty if you fall off, so don't expect us to turn around and come and get you.
You won't be coming back?
No.
Okay. Tides, does that affect your racing very much at these speeds?
Not as much as a slower boat, obviously, because if you're doing, you're doing 20 knots all the time, the tide's not such a big factor, but you do see it across the course when you're going upwind. But it's pretty hard to manage because the course boundaries are so tight that it's not like with these you can just do 2 little short tacks to get out of the tide. It's sort of trying to plan ahead a little bit more.
And I guess at times there's a little bit of a chop, maybe a couple of feet. Does that affect these boats?
Yeah, I mean, as you saw on Sunday up near the top mark, it was a bit lumpy, and it starts becoming a bit of a factor. Like they become a bit harder to tack, and they become a lot harder to bear away. If you manage to get a wave right in the wrong spot as you're bearing away, you
yes, I've seen some of the bear away action.
End up in a bit of trouble.
Quite exciting. Have you come close in this?
I guess we had a couple of ones that were kind of close on Sunday, but nothing. We never really felt like it was going to keep going. We did so much sailing in San Francisco in sort of 25 to even 30 knots with the wind against tide there where it's really lumpy, and so we're a little bit used to it in a way.
Seems quite hard to keep them upright in certain, bear away situations.
Yeah, it's just like any boat, it's just sort of technique. But yeah, if it gets really windy and really wavy, they can be a bit of a handful to bear away.
The big difference, I guess, with the wing mass is that the centre of gravity is just that much higher, so the balance is totally different.
Yeah, a little bit, but the advantages you get are so much better with the wing. I mean, you see like a VX40 or a similar boat to that. When they ease the main sheet, the main becomes really full and the rig falls forward and it all starts spiralling against you quite quickly when you're trying to bear away. With the wing, you've just got an on-off switch. So when you ease the wing, the power's gone. So that's why you'll see these boats, like the good teams on Sunday were really having no problems, in 22 or 25 knots. Whereas a VX40 fleet in that, you would have lost half the fleet at the top mark.
So you think the sort of capsizes we've seen here in Plymouth are just a part of the learning curve and that's going to gently fade away?
I think so, for sure, yeah. I mean, we've all flipped them over and it's just, you sort of see the guys with the most time in the boats are the ones that aren't capsizing as much, and I'm sure it's like the 49er class or any other high performance class that starts off. They're hard to start with, but people just get their head around them and you get better and better at sailing them.
This was a one-off then in Plymouth, seeing all this action?
Oh no. I guess the other side of it, you keep pushing harder and harder and harder as you get better at it too. So no, for sure we're going to see more capsizes. But like you saw with the Koreans, they can just pull them back up, and a lot of the time you can keep on racing. We'll get better at that, and I'm sure people will come up with better techniques at pulling them up, and we'll just learn to deal with it.
And what about the sort of work that you have to do when the boat comes back in again after racing? Is there a lot of repairs and maintenance to do that we're not seeing behind the scenes? Not
so much. Like from Sunday, we just pushed ours in the shed and they were done. We give the boards a little tickle, so the centre boards are still easy to pull up and down. They get fed and polished and looked after. But apart from that, there's the usual stuff on ropes and little bits and bobs. But no, ours finished Sunday with pretty much nothing wrong with them.
So no major pit stop repairs?
Not yet, no. Well, Cheese let the wing into me pretty hard. We had to check that area where he smacked that into me. But no, apart from that, they're fine.
Right.
They're pretty low maintenance compared to, if you had this boat with a mast and a mainsail, you'd be sort of looking after all the rigging and carry-on bits, and then there'd be recuts on the mainsails. And I mean, that stuff still goes on with the sails. They're constantly being recut. We've got 2 sailmakers here full-time that are always working on that.
So you think these are actually slightly less maintenance than a soft sailboat?
Depends on what your job is. As you know, I'm part of the sail team as the trimmer. So for me, they're less work because we don't have a mainsail that we're dealing with and battens and all the carry-on. But I'm sure if you ask some of the boat builders, they'll tell you it's a lot more work because, when we have a crash, there's frames that break and things that they have to fix.
Do you think we're going to see more of these on inshore racing yachts?
I mean, the handling issue is a bit of a problem. Putting them in with a crane and so on. I mean, they're the perfect solution for a boat if you take the handling issue out of it. You know, they're really easy to sail. If it gets really windy, you can just take all the camber out of them, and they're really low drag. So they're all positives apart from what you do with it when it gets really, really windy. We had some pretty bad moments with USA 17 and Valencia in the big offshore storms that it got stuck in the water in, and it's pretty frightening to see that, you know, one of these things bucking around. Or that big one. These ones are no problem. So no, I'm not sure you'll see them go into mainstream. You know, I think we're a little way off seeing IRC boats blasting around with wings in them, but who knows?